pleased that you came. They called me the Necrofessor, and if it is all the same, I bid you welcome to an experiment, a séance where the aim is to talk about spiritualism and what it became. Now, what is spiritualism? I may hear you mention. I suppose I could just simply break it down section by section, but it would be much more fun if I used this new invention. It's a phonograph hooked up to an aetherphonic oscillation, allowing me to transmit rhythmic structures across the nation. What marvels of engineering now lie at our dispensation. Now, without further ado, and no more time wasted then, let the crash course in spiritualism begin. Wind the clock back to the 1840s is where our story will start. An emergence of industry, study, manufacturing what lied at the heart, or a Victorian populace, whom were immersed in religious reform, as various faiths formed the melting pot of societal norm. For instance, the afterlife was being discussed in terms of spirits, where the past entities can interact with the living through otherworldly visits. Around that time was when spiritualism was thrown into the mix and exploded in English-speaking areas with their medium's bag of tricks. What used to be a fabled concept of communing with the dead could now be executed from the comfort of your own homestead. So what is the spiritualist's vision of the afterlife all about? Let's crank up the Aethercaster and find out.
Suppose if you would, that within your body lies a soul, and if we could derive when your body dies, the placement if we should, the nature of the afterlife, neither evil nor good, the slice before the knife. In many religions, as in spiritualism, there is no such division. The underworld is given, whether heaven or hell, a place to call for yourself. Purgatory, fragmentation, dispersal of information, conjure a vision, a multiversal plane, another realm of existence, very much the same. Whether rock, a tree, a plant, or beast, these things exist, a material component to a spiritual essence. Where do we go when we die? Where do we go? Where do we go when we die? Where do we go? Contradictory points of evidence, testimonials from near-death experience, spirit trips by shamans, seers, and clairvoyants, describing things by human measurements. With an application of physics, we can observe how dead beings decompose and we're breaking down its individual component things. A chemical equation that microbial putrefaction brings. What happens after that? Necropsy makes the whole world sing. Where do we go when we die? Where do we go? Where do we go when we die? Where do we go? If we could conceive that our lives aren't just fleeting, beyond this old veil there is so much more to find. In spiritualism, the dead are ever ascending, higher spheres of existence intertwined. Late 19th century saw a rise in spiritualists. They believed the afterlife was not a static places. Now spirits only real, but they could grow and progress, ascend to higher dimensions of multiversal consciousness. There were those who walk among us, those who could sense the dead. They interact with spirits and relay what they said. They would hold formal gatherings known as a séance, perhaps for the knowledge, but mostly for the haunts. Does that mean that my body has a spirit? Does that mean each cell has a spirit? Does that mean each atom has a spirit? Does that mean everything?
Spiritualism was as prevalent as it was controversial, as prominent figures found themselves on both sides of the circle. To the orthodox persuasion, it was tandem to witchcraft, but to the materialists who denied the church found it fit into their life path. An unorganized series of beliefs turned into a spirited movement, informal as it may have been to the more religiously prudent. Was a séance a means to grieve, having felt they contacted the dead? Or was the movement disrespectful, just simply profiting from those misled? To find out, let's go to a Hydesville home where I would recommend checking out the girls known as the Fox Sisters and their special friend.
Oh, Mr. Splitfoot, knock if you can hear me. Tell me what my age is, tell me what you're scheming. Oh, Mr. Splitfoot, won't you let us know? Now do just as I do, and we'll put on a show. Oh, Mr. Splitfoot, rapping's on the flow. Bring the neighbors to the party, don't keep it on the low. Oh, Mr. Splitfoot, knock your spirit flow. The séance is creeping, yeah, we gotta let 'em know. March 31st, 1848, Hydesville, New York, at the Fox Estate. What sounded like rapping on a wooden slate. Fox daughters Margaretta and Kate took the time to investigate. Now it wasn't uncommon for weird sounds to reverberate throughout the house like a knocking sound with a rhythmic rate. Some would say the house was settling, but they found a phenomenon quite unsettling. When they tried to ask the knocking some questions, the knocking seemed to be replying back at them. Oh, Mr. Splitfoot, knock if you can't hear me. Tell me what my age is, tell me what you're scheming. Oh, Mr. Splitfoot, won't you let us know? Now do just as I do, and we'll put on a show. Oh, Mr. Splitfoot, rapping's on the flow. Bring the neighbors to the party, don't keep it on the low. Oh, Mr. Splitfoot, knock your spirit flow. The séance is creeping, yeah, we gotta let 'em know. The rappings continued, and the girls they could not hide from the seeming inclination. They could commune with those who died. People rich and poor came to witness Fox Sisters from far and wide. These girls were on a roll, smooth operators on the other side. Mayors and laborers, skeptics and ghostly haters. They tested the Fox Sisters, told results to newspapers. Committees were formed to investigate the girls. girls' ways. They would make them sit on them pillows, yeah, make them bind up their legs. But the rapping still persisted in the walls and in the floor. By the time the rise of medium shit blown up even more, the sisters had decided to take their ghost show on tour. Many others have preceded them, but they opened the door. Oh, Mr. Splitfoot, knock if you can hear me. Tell me what my age is, tell me what you're scheming. Oh, Mr. Splitfoot, won't you let us know? Now do just as I do and we'll put on a show. Oh, Mr. Splitfoot, rapping's on the flow. Bring the neighbors to the party, don't keep it on the low. Oh, Mr. Splitfoot, rock your spirit flow. The seance is creeping, yeah, we gotta let them know. The rappings gave way to other ghostly communications, such as table tipping, automatic writing, and levitation. The knocking from the underworld had raised the stakes. The afterlife scene was filled with frauds and fakes. Go talk to the dead, better bring your dough. Make the table start tipping in, then you'll know. Everyone join hands at the spirit show. How to rap goes to beat bumping through the floor. Hear the spirits knocking in the black. It's your dead loved ones rapping back. Talk to your son, sure, just pass the stack. He went off to the war, he ain't coming back.
Victorian era, spiritualism was in full swing. However, it was tarnished by a number of fraudulent mediums is the thing. When the time came and the skeptics rang and the medium should flourish the most, many were proven as frauds and had to simply give up the ghost. The Fox sisters felt the guillotine swing, submitted to tests and whatever they please. When an expose broke, they were fakes who were snapping their toe joints and popping their knees. The sisters fell apart and their reputation marred by deception. Though it seemed later still they would decide to renounce their shocking declaration. So who's to say what's real after all? Is the afterlife accessible or not? Regardless where you stand on the topic, the spirits seem to be talking a lot. Scientists had begun to study the spirits despite possible disgrace, such as physicist Dr. Oliver Lodge and biologist Alfred Russel Wallace. In the 1920s, enters a famous magician who was able to debunk many with swift derision, applying his skill towards a keen suspicion. Let's crank the Aethercaster and listen in.
In the early 1900s, seance scene was poppin' and the mediums just rockin'. There was no sure sign of stoppin'. In the age of spiritualism and Zeppelin airship steppin' in, a stone cold magical pimp. He got that eye for detail and that sleight of hand. He knows all your lethal gimmicks and he think your flavor's bland. Bustin' fraudulent claims across the land. Your number's up, hit the lights, he sees your master plan. I don't believe you, Houdini, don't believe you. I just walk away, you got that hell to pay. Profit from the dead, I don't believe you, Houdini, don't believe you. The seance is a fake expose, HOUDINI, fade away. For my next trip, the famed magician would attend seances in disguise, debunking spirit medium for post-mortem lies such as Mina Crandon or the Spaniard with x-ray eyes. He helped offer up a $2,500 prize for psychic communication, or a photo of after someone dies. The cash was never claimed, so I think it would be wise to keep your game on low. Ghostbusters on rise. He'll kick down a beaded curtain and look you in the eyes. I don't believe you, really don't believe you. I just walk away, you got that hell to pay. Profit from the dead. I don't believe you, really don't believe you. Your seance is a fake expose, HOUDINI, I fade away. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle loved Sherlock Holmes and Fane, was a staunch spiritualist while Houdini became the bane of the spirit game, debunking the hustlers and bringing the shame. They fell into disagreements, made sure their bridges were covered in flame. Sir Conan Doyle lost his son Kingsley in the Great War. The seances he went to showed him things he'd never seen before. Houdini was a skeptic, debunking was his forte. Despite the logical nature of Doyle, Houdini would get up and say, I don't believe you, Houdini don't believe you. I just walk away, you got that hell to pay. Profit from the dead. I don't believe you, Houdini don't believe you. Your seance is a fake expose, HOUDINI, I fade away. And for my final trick, necromancy. Houdini made some plans right before he was dead. A secret message to his wife Bess, Houdini, that read, Roosevelt believed it was from their favorite song. If he could speak after death, he would pass that beat along. For 10 years straight, Bess held seances on Halloween, try and hear that secret message from her man Houdini. But 10 years went silent, so Beth canceled the plan, saying 10 years long is enough to wait for any man. I don't believe you, Houdini don't believe you. I just walk away, you got that hell to pay. Profit from the dead. I don't believe you, Houdini don't believe you. Your seance is a fake expose, HOUDINI, I fade away.
So when's this spiritualism jam session for tonight? Time to pack all the corpses up and say goodnight. My skeletal colleague and I wish you the greatest of tithings. Who knows when the next reanimated experiment will bring. I would like to thank our dearly departed out there in spirit. To be honest, I never really got their opinion on the subject. Forgot to ask it. I would rather believe spirits are real, only to be proven wrong, than to believe otherwise, and than to have been haunted all along. Until our next possession, to all my steamy friends all freaky, remember what I always say. Stay creepy.